She met him when her world was quietly falling apart, not with fire or screams, but with a silence so heavy, it felt like gravity was working harder on her than anyone else. Her name was Alina, and to most people, she looked like she was doing fine. She went to work. She answered messages. She smiled when she was supposed to. But inside her, something had stopped moving. Her father had passed away in his sleep 2 winters ago, and her mother had never recovered, not really. She stopped speaking in full sentences, started forgetting small things, then big things. Alina had to grow up in a matter of months, handling bills, hospitals, the suffocating weight of loneliness, and somewhere in that chaos, her belief in love had slipped away, unnoticed, like a leaf falling from a tree, too tired to hold on. Love, to her, was a distant thing, a story she once believed in as a child, but later filed under not for people like me. That's when she met Rayan, not at a party, not in a movie-like moment, just an ordinary evening in an ordinary park, when the sky was the color of fading fire, and the trees were letting go of their last golden leaves. She was sitting alone on a bench, staring into the kind of nothing that holds everything. Rayan sat beside her, quietly. He didn't ask her name, didn't smile, didn't say the usual "is this seat taken?" He just looked forward, like he was watching the same invisible pain she was. Minutes passed. Then he said softly, "Sometimes people break so quietly. The world doesn't even notice. But I do." Alina didn't respond, but she didn't leave either. That was the beginning. Not a grand moment, just presence. In the days that followed, he showed up at the same bench. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't, but in that shared silence, something began to shift. Rayan never asked about her past, never probed the wounds. He didn't try to fix her or offer solutions. Instead, he gave her something rarer, permission to exist exactly as she was. One rainy evening, while the park emptied and thunder rolled somewhere in the distance, she finally said, "I think I've forgotten how to feel anything fully, even sadness, even happiness." Rayan looked at her and replied, "That's okay. You're not broken. You're healing in slow motion, and I'm not here to speed it up, just to walk with you." She didn't cry. Not then, but something in her cracked open, like a frozen river beginning to thaw. Over time, they built a bond, not on declarations, but on details. Shared coffee from paper cups. Hands brushing unintentionally. A playlist passed from his phone to hers, filled with songs that felt like they had been written by people who also hurt quietly. On her bad days, when the weight of the world pressed too hard on her chest, Rayan would simply sit beside her without asking her to explain. He understood that some pain has no language, and in his silence, she found more comfort than she ever had in words. She learned to breathe again, to notice how the light fell on trees, how the air felt different after rain, how her own laughter, when it finally came, surprised her. And Rayan, he was healing too, not from a tragedy as sharp as hers, but from 1,000 little disappointments life had handed him. He once told her, "I used to think love was about saving someone, but now I think it's about staying even when there's nothing to save, just someone to sit beside." One day, she brought him a book. Not a gift, just something she thought he might like. She had underlined a sentence on the second page. "Maybe love isn't loud. Maybe it's in showing up over and over, until showing up feels like breathing." He smiled and kept that book with him always. Seasons began to change. The leaves returned. Spring bloomed in soft colors. But for Alina, autumn never really left because it had become a part of her story. A season where pain met presence, where love didn't demand or push, but simply existed. People often asked them, later, how they fell in love. There was no first kiss story, no dramatic confession. Just a slow becoming, like music building softly, like healing that didn't announce itself, and that's what made it beautiful. She didn't become someone new with him. She just finally had the space to remember who she already was, buried beneath grief and silence. And Rayan, he didn't change either. But he softened, became more patient, more still. And in that stillness, they found something the world rarely talks about. A love that doesn't fix, but stays. A love that doesn't rush healing or ask for wholeness first. A love that sees the cracks and sits beside them anyway. Years later, when people asked Alina what love meant to her, she didn't quote poetry or fairy tales. She just said, "He didn't try to fix me, he just stayed." And that saved me more than any solution ever could.